I'm Naomi, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm here in my capacity of Silicon Canal leadership team. I am 1/8 of the leadership team. Victoria is another 1/8 of the leadership team. And you might have thought that Silicon Canal's been a bit quiet recently, and that's because we've kind of been refreshing our strategy a little bit. And then COVID happened and, you know, the world went upside down. So we are still here and we are still here to help. And this is one of the things that we want to do. So Birmingham Tech Week, welcome to Birmingham Tech Week. It's going to be a fantastic week. If you haven't checked out all of the events, just go and try and figure out which ones you want to go to, because there are so many. I think there are 100 events across the next 5 days, which is insane. And it is in association with Tech Nation, the West Midlands Growth Company, and the Department for International Trade. And it's also been sponsored, headline sponsor from NatWest, and then we've got sponsorship from Copper, Culture Group, BJSS, Sidetrade and BMet, all of whom have literally put their money where their mouth is to help collaborate and celebrate and inspire the Birmingham Tech community. So thank you to all of those guys. And then all these partners, which is great. It's the whole meaning of collaboration. Literally any kind of community, university, government, have kind of all come together and are all supporting this initiative that obviously started last year. We're in our second year this year. So it's absolutely brilliant to see. And all of these organisations are on the Birmingham Tech website, and you can go and check out what they're doing. And I'm pretty sure they're all hosting an event as well if you want to actually hear from what they're doing. And this one is brought to you by Silicon Canal. That's our Twitter handle right there. Give us a follow. We're going to be a bit more active on social media in the coming months, and hopefully we'll get our tech drinks back in live at some point, because I've kind of really missed all of those. So first up, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Shrevan from Work Simplr, who I met maybe a couple of years ago now, and he's going to share his story. So over to you.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for the warm introduction. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Birmingham Tech Week. And today I'm going to be sharing to you about how the story of Work Simplr got started. So to start off, what is Work Simplr? So Work Simplr currently has been developed to kind of facilitate the virtualization of internships and workflows in universities. Over the lockdown, we've had to pivot and change how we kind of operate and restructure, as a lot of businesses had to. But we took a different approach by trying to target universities in the education space, and more importantly, trying to provide the students with an opportunity to kind of fight back during this lockdown and continue to grow by exercising their skills and trying to gain that experience that they need through a completely virtual platform. So we are now launched. We have a demo live, and yeah, things are going well, but it did not start like this. So to give you kind of a brief as to how everything started, while I was at university from 2013 to 16, I worked on multiple projects, and I worked with my friends and colleagues on running events and shows, because I did sound engineering and production at BCU, Birmingham City University. And when I graduated and I went to apply for jobs, they said none of those experiences or the projects that I'd done would be considered valid, just mainly because there was no company or a contract involved. And I thought that was really unfair. So this led to me going back home to the UAE, because I was an international student, forgot to mention that, and wondering why this was an issue. So I did my research, I spoke to my friends and colleagues, and I found out that this was a problem that existed not just across my field, but a lot of the other creatives, as well as professional fields as well. So I went back home, got together with my childhood friend, Nikhil Soanes, and we together founded Work Simplr. The idea for Work Simplr back then was just a gig working style platform that allows students allows the students, businesses, and local individuals of any city to kind of come together and work in a shared value economy, where one person where if there is a skill required, there is somebody in that community that will be able to provide them with that service, rather than going to a big company or corporation to find the answer. So we thought this was a good idea. We spoke to a few of our friends and family, and they were like, yeah, it's good, go for it. And we did. We started doing market research. We developed a 70-page business plan and kind of pinpointed every single area of what could go wrong and what could go right, and which turns out to be a really good foundation for the whole business so far. We developed a pitch deck, and then we started reaching out to investors and partners without building a prototype. And that's when they said, oh, you need something to show us. So we put some money together and built a very basic prototype as to what the platform would work. Since we were in Dubai in the UAE, we thought this cannot work there because the rules and regulations are completely different. So I decided to reach out to BCU and apply for the BCU/BC endorsement to come on as a graduate entrepreneur, which the first time I didn't get because, well, this was before we had the prototype and I just had an idea. But the second time we had the prototype, we had a business plan, we had the pitch deck, we had everything ready, and I got it. And this was in 2018. I received the endorsement. I went back home to Dubai because I was here when I did the interview. And yeah, I somehow managed to get investment in. I got a CTO on board who was another friend of mine from high school. And we sat down in building the complete platform, and things went well. We were in the UK, we were talking to universities, we were talking to students, we were talking to businesses, and now the story starts from 2019 when we launched the alpha at Tech Wednesday in April last year. We launched the alpha, we got a bunch of feedback, we got about 70 users onboarded, and I don't know how many people have watched the TV show Silicon Valley, but as he said in that, we had engineered the idea to the solution. And the problem with that was that none of our users knew how to use it. They would go on, they would log in, and they were like, what does it do? Where are the buttons? Where is the how-to guide? When we didn't really have it, because we, the people who built it, knew exactly what it was meant for. So it was very, very easy that way. So we took a step back and restructured and redeveloped the platform to kind of become a more targeted solution. And towards the end of the year, we had a prototype ready that would function as a free-to-use student-to-student networking platform that would allow students to kind of collaborate, create, and network across all universities and faculties here in Birmingham. So we used January, February, and March to start marketing and to start preparing for a launch in April. When we all know what happened in April this year, which is COVID hit, we went into lockdown, and turns out that idea was no longer usable because the students were more worried about where they would, be in about 5-6 months time. So we thought, okay, what do we do now? So in about April and May this year, I reached out to my contacts at Birmingham City University, Aston University, University College Birmingham, University of Birmingham, and we asked them, what are your pain points right now? And they said internships, and they said placements, and providing students with an opportunity because they can't do anything physically anymore. So we took it upon us to then develop this platform, which we built specifically to the needs of the market during COVID. And what we realized as well afterwards, this is the future of work. There are so many talks and there's so many reports coming out that says that by the end of next year, more than 50% of the working population will either be remote or completely virtual. And we thought to ourselves that the students need to be trained and educated in that same manner. So they are then able to go out into the world, graduate, and have those skills and the new soft skills that would be needed in the workplaces of the future. So we developed a virtual internship management solution for the universities that allowed them to completely virtually and remotely manage, create, analyze, and report on internships. They would be able to onboard a student and a company, put them into a virtual workspace, and manage everything that happens within that, run video meetings, collaborate, everything. And towards the mid of next year, after we have partnered with enough universities here in Birmingham, we're looking to launch our open marketplace that would allow any student and any business to create new opportunities and connect to each other, and do it all virtually through our system, so that it's efficient, it's cheap in terms of operations and infrastructure, and more importantly, it's easy, and it's accessibility that we're looking to kind of explore. And that's where we are right now.
Awesome, thank you. It's great to hear that update. We haven't actually managed to catch up properly either online, have we? So yeah, it sounds really, really great. In regard to what would you say has been the biggest challenge? I know you mentioned obviously COVID and that kind of like wiped out your initial plans, but you've obviously pivoted and changed. But other than that, what would you say has been your biggest challenge to date?
Well, the biggest challenge that we've had today is validation of the technology. The
Mhm.
idea is easy to validate. You can validate an idea by speaking to a lot of people. It doesn't cost anything. You can just go out there and just try and speak to as many people as possible who are in the same space, who haven't even been in that same experience as you have, and you'll find out that the idea works. But the technology is expensive, first of all. But when you do get the technology in place, validating that technology without specific set processes and strategies is quite difficult. And that's the issue that we faced last year with the alpha, is that we didn't validate it enough, so that when we actually launched it to the public, it wasn't there yet. It wasn't easy to use. It was like riding a car without having a license. We didn't give them that entire education as to how to use the platform, and that is in as part of validation as well.
Yeah. So with your students, do you see it as kind of a B2C model, or are you partnering with the universities?
We are partnering with universities. So the virtual internship management the solution that we've built now is B2B. So we partner with universities and they can use it as either a plug and play or a white label solution. But we do have a B2C as well, where it's a subscription based model. So it's a pay as you go model for the universities that they can direct to, where they can release it to the students and the companies, and they can just collaborate through it all.
Awesome, thank you. Victoria, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, so we just got one in from Gaston. Did you do your own focus group or do you hire any local marketing agency?
It's a good question. We did our own local focus group because we thought it was best for us to kind of find the people that would best understand the use of the platform in the first stages. Those are the people who will be able to give you the complete insight as to why it would work or why it wouldn't work. But yes, if you do have a more generic platform or a more generic tool, you should go and reach out to local marketing agencies, because then you'll be able to run online campaigns and do surveys to find out if your platform works or your product works or not. Hope that answers the question.
Good. We have another question from, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, from Arshad. The question is, so is the product still free or are there universities paying for it? And Gaston says, thank you.
No problem. So yes, the product is paid for by the universities for the virtual internship management, and it's paid for by the universities if they wish to access the administration side of the system. Whereas if it's not, if it's just for any student, it's free to use, and for the company as well, they're free to post and create an account, and they only charged if they are able to successfully transact through the platform, which is hire somebody and complete that entire process.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any more questions? So Arshad says, thank you, that sounds great. Does anyone else have any other questions? Remember that you can type them on the chat or you can put them in the Q&A and we will answer them. Is there any other questions for Shrevan?
Brilliant. I don't think there's any.
No, well, thank you so much. Thanks
No
for
problem.
sharing that.
Thank you for having me on.
Cool. So let's get on to Sonu from shopper.com. Again, I've known Sonu for a while now and her story's been absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to hearing this. So without further ado, I'll just hand over to you, Sonu.
Thank you, Naomi. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here on the call. So I'll talk a little about my journey from India to becoming the co-founder of shopper.com, one of the fastest growing shopping communities in the UK. So my journey has been a very soul searching journey of finding out who I am, what my strengths are, what I really like to do, and where my heart is. I grew up in India, and like millions of Indian girls, the conditioning of the mind started really at a young age. Society played a big part in all the decisions I took or the choices I made, because often you are making decisions not because you want to do something, but because society is expecting you to do that. And as a young girl, I often believed that the purpose of my life was to grow up conforming to the Indian society norms, to marry a person of my family's choice, and to carry on the lineage from there on. But that purpose I often questioned because that's not what my heart really wanted. And I'm really fortunate to have the parents that I have because they never believed in that purpose either. They always pushed me to think differently, to be more courageous, to take more calculated risks. And that's where actually the real confusion started because I really got confused who I am. Am I the capable person that my family thinks, or I am someone who's dependent on other people the way society has conditioned me? So it took really several years of introspection, and it happened over many, many years to really find out who I am and what I really want to do in my life. And during the course of my life, I have changed the course several times. So, because every time I would walk on a path, I would quickly realize that it's not for me. And I'm not really someone who would just carry on that path because that was the initial choice I had made. So, like many other ambitious women, the fear of failure or the pressure of failure was weighing really high on me because every time I would change a course, the patriarchal society would quickly start questioning me whether I can actually make my own decisions or if I have what it takes to be successful in life, and that women of my background should really be or are really best suited to adorn a home. But during all this time, like my parents played a big role and they believed in me and they always pushed me to follow my dreams or to follow my calling. And when I actually made the decision to quit my job at KPMG to pursue a master's in UK, that's when I was officially labeled as the dumbest woman because I was leaving my comfortable job, 5 days a week work, hefty salary, and good perks that I was enjoying in my life. And above all, the respect I had earned by then in the male dominated society. I was actually abandoning it all. And moreover, I was also officially sacrificing on my chances of marrying someone from India because they were thinking like, why would I spend my money on higher education and not really on the dowry? But I was quite well determined and I really wanted to take the chance and see what really awaited in UK. And once I came to UK, that's where my heart just did not really want to go back to the corporate world. I really wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. I was quite determined that I want to build something unique. I want to touch the lives of many people and as many people as I can really do with my journey or with my entrepreneurship. And actually the entrepreneurship journey has been more fulfilling for me because it's more fulfilling. The journey is more fulfilling than the end goal because here I'm meeting different people who are teaching me different lessons. I am making different mistakes and I'm learning a lot from them. And every time I have an experience, I'm becoming a better and a stronger person. So I find this journey more fulfilling than the end result that probably I would have. There definitely have been times during this journey where I had self doubts and I really wanted to quit. But then again, I'm fortunate to have the support system around me that I have. And my husband Manoj has placed the greatest part in actually keeping my spirits alive and keeping me going. He always encouraged me to find a way rather than just, succumbing to the norms of the society or the pressure society can put on you. And I did face a lot of pressure when I'm a startup entrepreneur because I'm not earning as much as I would have done in a corporate job, and I'm not enjoying my life as such that people think because my social life is really limited and people think that I've really made wrong choices in my life now. But I often think like you have two options or two choices yourself. Either you can be a critic, just sit back, relax, and assess what other people are doing and judge them for the choices they have made. Or you can actually be the person in front who's doing all these things, and you can actually achieve something and not really bother about what people are saying. So then I launched shopper.com in November 2018 when I was almost 6 months pregnant. And that was really a turning point, I would say, because then I was actually starting a new chapter in my life of a motherhood, as well as I was launching a new business that would definitely need a lot of time, energy, attention from me. So, but I do take quite comfort in knowing that over the last 20 months or so, we have created a global community of shoppers, and we have helped shoppers save millions of pounds in online shopping. And we are on the path to make a difference, however big or small, in the lives of thousands of people. And UK, the journey has been a bit different because although the environment or the ecosystem is more conducive to women entrepreneurship, I think things are still quite hard here as well, because I'm still working at least double hard to, I'm working harder double times, I think, compared to the male entrepreneurs, to just prove my point, to move the needles, to actually raise the funds. But it has been overall a very enjoyable journey, a remarkable one, and something I really liked it. So we launched shopper.com, where we are helping thousands of people save money online. When we launched the business, the whole idea was that people are using 6 different techniques to save money online, but it's actually these tech savvy shoppers who are able to save more, because they'll probably browse the store in incognito mode, or they will clear the cookies, or they will abandon the cart and wait, they will sign up for the newsletters and things like that. So we actually wanted to empower every person, whether tech savvy or not, to be able to save price when they're shopping online. And with that motto, we launched our couponing or deal side of the platform, where our community is uploading deals in return for rewards. And every time someone else in the community uses it to save money, they get rewarded for that. And then when the COVID hit, our community also wanted us to do something for them. So we launched the out of stock notification. So every time a product goes out of stock, we would notify the user instantly when it comes back in stock. This feature is actually available with many stores like Amazon and some stores like that, but not for all the stores. So during COVID time, when people really wanted to shop online and not really go out, we thought that we could play our part in the community and help them stay safe and at home. So we launched this out of stock notification. And now we are also in the process of launching this price alert, where we would be able to tell shoppers when the price of the product is likely to go up or down. So instead of shopping for flight tickets on a Monday, it might be better that you shop for it on Sunday. So instead of you're planning to buy this Apple speaker, or you're planning to buy this iMac tomorrow on Wednesday, you can instead buy it on Monday. So these are the price predictions we would be able to do. And we are actually monitoring up to 100 million products to say when is the right time for people to buy. So this is really about me and the journey so far. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Sanu. Great to hear an update of your story. I don't think I'd understood your story before you came to the UK, so it's really, really interesting. You're a very brave woman, I think is a great way to describe you. Definitely braver than I think I could ever be. So that was brilliant. I'm going to ask you the same question as I did to Shrevan about your biggest challenge. You've had a lot of challenges, I can hear that. What would you say would be your biggest challenge to date?
So one of the biggest challenges is always getting respect in the male-dominated society or male-dominated sector, because in India it's quite male-dominated. So there, if you're trying to do something different that women are not generally perceived to be doing, it's difficult to get respect there. So the initial days of it can be really hard, but once you are there and you have already proven yourself, then a lot of people will come and respect you and appreciate you and acknowledge your efforts. The same thing happened in UK, because I'm part of the tech community, which is very much male-dominated. It's been difficult to get respect here as well, because people often think that if I'm a woman and I'm an entrepreneur, I should rather be doing something in beauty or cosmetics or baby related products rather than something in tech or for the community at large. So that's something I would say has been one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I agree. I hear that quite a lot. You are right in the in that male-dominated world, and we're really lucky to live in Birmingham, where there is such diversity, and from that come a lot of initiatives that are being used to help women in tech and other underrepresented groups in tech. Victoria, do we have any questions from the audience?
We have many questions from the audience. So I'm going to start with, how large is your in UK versus the non-UK?
So we have almost like 20% of our community from UK, and 80% it is international. So we are present in almost 40 countries now, and some of the biggest markets are like the US, Canada, Australia, India, New Zealand, and UK definitely. In Europe, we have Germany and France. Italy is also picking up there, but only 22% are from UK, and rest all are from international community, I would say.
Great, thank you. And also, Gaston, I think that answers your question too. So if it doesn't, if you can do a follow-up, that'll be great. There's another question that says, what is the biggest mistake you are the most proud of?
Mistake I'm proud of. I think the one thing I would say that I didn't really listen to the society. So if it was a mistake that I couldn't really be in India with that attitude, or I had to just I had to find another country that could really accept my views or my, like, type of character that I have. So I think that's the biggest thing I'm proud of, that I just let it be. Like, I didn't really stay back in India trying to conform to the society there.
I have another question from Rishi. Love to hear that you're following your purpose. I'd be keen to hear what sort of financial challenges you've had along the way.
Every challenge that you can potentially think of. So, because I come from a corporate background and I was earning quite decent salary, I was used to a certain type of lifestyle back in India. But when I came to UK, all of a sudden I came into that student crisis first, because I was funding my education with the education loan. And then I chose not to carry on with my corporate career. I rather wanted to start with entrepreneurship, which is another area where you don't really get as much money. So it was every sort of challenge like you could potentially think of, because there was a pressure on me to repay my education loan. Then when you're starting a business, you really need some external funding, but that took some time for us to come through. And then maintaining a team, because it's like often catch 22 situation, that without funding, how do you develop MVP? And without MVP, how do you really get access to funding? So it was quite difficult. We actually looked into different sources we could potentially tap into. So we did go for some of the government funded grants. That was really helpful for us, because that's where we could manage ourselves. And then the social life took a real hit, because it's not something I could afford very often, to go out with friends and visit the restaurants that they were able to visit because of their salary or the financial standard they had. That was a challenge. Shopping trips became like really minimal, because that wasn't something I was willing to spend my money on. I really wanted to invest every penny of it in the business. So I would say that a lot of ways, every financial challenge you could really think of, we faced.
That's very, very well. Really impressive stuff. So that's the answer to the person that asked the question. That was very, very inspiring. Thank you for answering that. I have another. Do you have time for two more?
Yeah, quickly.
Cool. Okay, so who are your male allies within the tech space aside from your husband?
Oh, that's a great question.
Exclamation mark and question mark.
That's a great question, actually, because I do often believe in mentoring, and I do have some fantastic mentors who actually guide me through the journey. Because if you learn from a man how to handle another man, that's the best thing I think can happen. So I would say it's the mentors that I have got.
That's amazing. And lastly, great story. Where do you see yourself placing most effort and energy over the next 12 months?
Is it in terms of the business, like what direction we would be taking? If that is the case, then probably we would be investing a lot in building our community, because now what we are trying to do is everything community focused. So we'll be trying to contact some influencers and some growth hackers who can really spread the word out about shopper.com and actually get as many people on board as possible. So it's very much about enlarging our community.
Great, thank you. That's it. So guys, if you want to ask more questions, I'm gonna put again the email on the chat, and I'll leave it to Nay.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Sonu. Yes, everybody get Shopper on your browser, because I do, and I save money every time I shop, which is amazing. So do it and tell your friends. Thank you, Sonu. Thank you for your time and for your inspiring story. So we're going to move on now to Sukhveer, who actually, I think Sonu and I were on a panel for you.
Yeah.
So this is kind of tables turned somewhat, because you've just been so successful in what you're doing. So I'll let you explain about female founders and girl lead.
So my journey kind of started off at university. So I did my undergrad at Aston Uni, and I finished the undergrad. And at that time, I think I was working for the NHS as well. I was working as a tutor, and I really didn't like what I was doing. And I thought, well, I kind of have the time now to see if I can start my own business. So in 2018, I also joined the BC program, which is a program run by Aston Uni. Because I felt like I didn't kind of know how to start a business up. And that's when I founded my first startup, Inspire. And that was a tutoring company, and we basically were supporting families in Birmingham and children learn academic subjects. And then also we kind of got into entrepreneurship and supporting more young people understand what entrepreneurship is and how they can kind of start their own businesses. Because throughout my time working in education, what I found was that the curriculum was so focused on academia and academic subjects that kids weren't really getting a fruitful experience of education. Like year 11 children who were so worried about GCSEs that they were literally just like breaking down and just not like being able to kind of understand that past that there is life, there is more things going on, and you do have options. And so what we kind of wanted to achieve with Inspire was to kind of touch people's lives like that. But the massive challenge that I had with my first startup was that it just wasn't sustainable, because we hadn't considered the fact that it was me doing a lot of work and a lot of service-based stuff. And that at that point we needed some kind of innovation or some tech to kind of help push that up. But I just couldn't raise the money, and I just didn't know what to do. And around that time, I was having a lot of challenges, because as an entrepreneur, I felt that there were a lot of setbacks. Not only had, I'd been normalized in a way where going through uni, you're just so used to having the next stage, you do your GCSEs, you go to college, you go to uni, and then what? So because we were programmed in that way, I kind of had to deprogram myself and then think about, how do I find those solutions to the problems I'm facing? And one massive challenge that stood out to me was being a woman. Being in the kind of NHS corporate world and working in public sector, I had come across, challenges like due to my ethnicity and my gender. But I didn't really think that when I went out into the world and I had a solid idea and I had the good pitch deck and I was, looked the part, sounded the part, I would have those challenges. And then I started speaking to more people and found that it was something quite normal. And so I think it was April 2019, I held my first female founders event. And I expected no one to turn up. And to this day, I'm surprised anyone did. And the whole point of Female Founders was to provide a platform for local women in the local area to kind of connect with each other, share their challenges, and kind of become a support system for each other. So we ran about 3 events in Birmingham last year, one being a Women in Tech panel. And they were amazing, just being able for me to access so many stories and really hear about how many women do overcome challenges, and the kind of challenges they've had was just so empowering to me. And so then in November last year, in support, in partnership with Leicester Startups, we launched our first event. We did like a soft launch in Leicester. And that was amazing as well. So within the year, we had been in 2 cities, and I think our following was growing, and we were building up a community of female founders, which was really exciting. And for me, it was something I was really passionate about. But then came the new year, and I was running 2 startups, Female Founders and Inspire. And I made the really hard decision of dissolving Inspire. And it wasn't because it wouldn't work or I didn't, for any specific reason. It was just because I couldn't handle everything. And I think I made the mistake of saying yes to too many things and trying to do everything. So I had to sit down and really think about what was my passion and what was it that I actually wanted to do. And I pondered over this for a tiny bit of time, but COVID happened, and that meant everything went virtual. So with Female Founders, a lot of that went virtual. We ended up kind of losing a lot of work with Inspire as well, because we were in that adjustment phase where people weren't really using tech just yet, and schools hadn't adapted. And so I had to sit down and really think, okay, so how do we innovate? How do we pivot? And what is it that you actually want to do? And so that's how kind of Girls Lead was born. I have had a passion for education, and that was a massive thing I found. And what another challenge that we faced with female founders was, once kind of women were reaching adult stage, and like people, we were working a lot with adults, I kind of felt like we weren't having the impact that I kind of wanted. And so now we offer support to girls aged around between 8 and 11, and we use arts and crafts through a kind of subscription model to inspire and educate more young girls about entrepreneurship skills.
Awesome, thank you. I love the Girls Lead subscription box idea. My daughter's 10, so, and she's always coming up with new things. It's brilliant. I think I know that the challenges, and Sonia's obviously touched on it as well, and I just want to draw attention. I am also the diversity inclusion lead for Birmingham Tech, so I'm going to promote this to everybody that's in the chat, especially the men who are here. You know, it is still a real thing. We hope, and we can't believe that it's still happening, but it is still happening. I've got tons of stories, recent stories about, you know, how women have not been taken seriously, or still get those pats on the heads or pats on the bums sometimes and stuff. So it's really amazing to hear that you are challenging that, Sukhveer, with what you're doing and giving that support system. I'm going to go over to Victoria for any questions in the chat.
Yep, so we have a really good one that is, do female founders reverse mentor male founders?
I think like loads of people do. At the moment, we haven't developed a kind of mentorship program to that extent yet. What we found that COVID ended up presenting so many challenges for the women in our network that we had to support them best first. But yeah, definitely something we would look in the future to develop.
I've just got another quick one. From your female founders meetups, do you see a common theme of challenges that the women are having?
I think it's like it's a split between the two. It's your kind of normal, struggling to go against societal norms for women and keeping up with the pressures, and when women are having children, the pressures of having a child and then also trying to run a business. And then funding always ends up being a massive one, which is quite normal with founders or male founders as well, and just founders in general. But funding, and I think like since coming to kind of Leicester as well, the kind of lack of knowledge of what opportunities are already out there. So people actually understanding like if you did have an idea, where do you even go before you even get to the next stage of looking for seed investment and VC investment.
Awesome, thank you. I did have one other question. It's gone out of my mind. It's gone. I'll go back to you.
I actually have one. So with COVID, you just mentioned that female founders and that ended up encountering all these new problems. Is there anything in particular that you can pinpoint that is very like it's for the female founders are encountering COVID?
I think a lot of moms really struggled in COVID. A massive thing that we saw was that not only balancing the business, but also like, the pressures of being an entrepreneur are huge anyways. So dealing and balancing all of that was a massive one.
I have another question. That's really good actually. And I think we have a few moms here, including Nay, Sonu, and probably many people in the chat. I think that's huge. I think everyone that has kids during COVID deserve some sort of award or prize, because you guys are awesome. I have another one. Have you come across a company called Landscape Ventures? This is a platform for VCs. Financing is only one part of the equation. It's also about partnering with the right kind of investor, and Mosumi puts the link.
No, I hadn't heard of them, so I'll definitely check them out. Thanks for that. And we also had, we run a weekly virtual meetup for female founders as well. And that roundtable is just what ended up happening was I had so many people asking me questions and stuff like that. And, a lot of people feeling down, that we created a virtual roundtable just as a check-in for people and female founders and to kind of just support people meeting up virtually, even though we couldn't face to face.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. So we're going to move on to Rich Westman from Kaido. And do you want your next slide up now?
Go for it. Perfect. Thanks, Naomi, and thanks for inviting me here to speak this morning. So my name's Rich. I'm the CEO and founder at a company called Kaido. We work with employers to help them make health and well-being an integral part of their business culture. We haven't always done that, and that's what I'm going to share, I guess, over the next 10 minutes, as well as some of my learnings, I suppose, that might be helpful for people on this call. To give you a bit of a background, I started Kaido in 2016, following a career in professional sport. So I used to work in professional rugby and tennis, working with athletes around their fitness and conditioning. But I guess, like many founders, wanted to do more, and was sort of fascinated by the opportunity, I suppose, that technology provides to help people look after their health. So it was at a time where there was a surge in all things patient-generated health data, whether that be Fitbits, whether that be patient care records, and I sort of felt that we weren't necessarily getting the most out of them. So how could we combine data with the intelligence of people who understood how to interpret that data to empower people to make better informed health decisions? And that was the vision. And like all great businesses, it started well with a huge amount of initial enthusiasm, and that's why I've put this slide on the screen here. So I'm not one to dig too much into business theory, but actually when I was sort of preparing for this talk, the curve couldn't have resonated any more with the journey I'm going to sort of talk about over the next sort of 5 minutes. So I thought I'd share that. So as I say, it started well. We moved to Innovation Birmingham right at the time when they were launching their Serendip incubator, which was a sort of accelerator program where enterprise level clients, in our case the NHS, partnered with startups to help them sort of realize their value and get to market. And that led to us generating money quite quickly. So we actually received about £150,000 of grant investment within 3 months of starting the company. And as a result of that, we were like talk of the town, and things probably grew far too quickly than even I could have maybe comprehended. And the big problem with that was actually I got all that money and didn't know what I was going to spend it on. And I think that's probably the first learning. Today for me is that, funding's fantastic and an important part of the business development cycle, but actually I think it's important at the right time. We got money at the wrong time. We spent £150,000 literally running around chasing every idea under the sun, and didn't invest it in the right space so we could get some sort of return or next step on our journey. And that reality, set in, I think, for me, and I think Naomi was there at a pitch session back in late 2017. It was an event at Innovation Birmingham that was sort of the brightest startups for Innovation Birmingham against the brightest startups from NatWest Accelerator. And I remember coming off the stage there after an absolutely terrible pitch and just thinking, this company is a mess. Like we're not focused. We're not necessarily on a path. And actually, really interestingly, at that time, I'd also been sort of offered venture capital money, which seems really strange, but actually because of the hype around Kaido and the journey we were on and the space we were in digital healthcare, there was lots of opportunity. And much to the dismay of the rest of the team, I actually turned down that money and said, right, we're going to go back to the drawing board. And in true startup style, we're going to bootstrap. I went back to coaching and we got rid of a good friend of mine called Ben, who helped me start the company. And I guess we went back to the drawing board. And the real, I suppose, learning point there is we actually tried to start a data analytics startup without access to any data. And that sounds really, really simple. But, when you've got only a handful of users like we did at the time, all of which were sharing very simple data, it was really hard to drive any intelligent insights out of. The insights we could derive from our data were pretty much, you should do more steps in your day if you did little steps, which isn't exactly overwhelming for anybody really. So, you know, at this point now, we're literally at the bottom of that curve. But for me, there was always a burning desire that we, you know, could do something, and it was that need to focus, and importantly, focus on the problem that you're sort of trying to solve for your ultimate customer. And at that point, we came across what's now a very large competitor of ours called Global Corporate Challenge. They're owned by Virgin, and they work with businesses, particularly enterprise level businesses, to run 100-day step challenges for clients. So cool concept, businesses realizing they need to support the physical and mental health of their staff, go on board with this global corporate challenge and run this sort of healthy competition across the business over 100 days. And that was gaining real traction at a time when the sort of importance of mental health in the workplace was starting to grow, and businesses of all sizes were sort of realizing their role, if you like, in supporting employee well-being. But we sort of felt we could do a better job of their product, not just in terms of the price point, they were very expensive, but also in terms of broadening the health focus. So everything Global does is around physical activity. We'll all know that health is about more than that. So Kaidu launched a product that focused not just on physical activity, but also on mental health, nutrition, and sleep. So similar concept, 6-week health and wellbeing challenges, but with this sort of broader holistic health focus that meant we tended to engage much higher percentages of the audience that we were working with, as opposed to the enterprise level client that was sort of engaging less than 5% each time they rolled out a program. And we supported that with a load of analytics that went back to the business that said, well, actually, this is what the health and wellbeing demands of your team look like. This is the improvements they've made using our program, and this is the potential return on investment for you in terms of important business markers like productivity and engagement and that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, at that time, we'd partnered with University Hospitals Birmingham, again, through some of the networks that are created through the first few years of the business. And they sort of agreed to trial an MVP, so a first version of our workplace solution. You know, that was a really interesting period for me. I was totally embarrassed by the product that we put out. You know, it didn't work really. It was stuck together with sellotape, but actually it was probably one of the best things we did. And that for me is probably one of the next learnings as a founder, is don't wait until you've got a product that you're proud of to launch it. Because actually the sooner you get it out there, the sooner you get feedback. And you know, you think it's going to be absolutely terrible and people are going to slate you. They're not at all. At that point, you're probably so small that it's relatively insignificant, and actually the value you can gain from that feedback is far stronger. So we put that product out there, and a couple of months later, we actually picked up another 2 NHS clients and our first revenue generating clients, which I'll never forget. So that was our first sort of £1,300. And at that point, you know, we sort of felt as a business that there was something there. So at that point, we were probably challenging what is normal as a startup business. We didn't take the funding that was offered. We were focusing very much on generating revenue from some initial sort of paying customers. We didn't hire software developers or work with tech agencies. Fortunately, I met a very well-known developer in Birmingham called Jeremy Walker and his business Thalamus AI. And they sort of, having gone through many of the problems that I'd gone through, were sort of, I suppose, redeveloping the model of investing and building with startups. So how it works with them is they actually take equity in the company based on the development that they make. And that might not be good for everybody, but it was absolutely perfect for us because it gave me a technical co-founder, somebody that, you know, as someone from a non-technical background, that was difficult, and someone who could actually translate what we were looking for into a piece of technology without us spending the earth on features that we didn't need. And that's probably one of the things Jeremy's done most for me over the last sort of couple of years, is really keep us focused. And we haven't overdeveloped at all. We've only developed in areas where we know we were going to sort of realize revenue from that. And the final thing, we weren't actually selling into the NHS. For anyone who wants to start a health startup, I've got probably a whole nother webinar on dealing with the NHS. But actually, rather than selling to them, we were partnering with them. So we're actually speaking to the NHS and saying, well, what are your problems when it comes to employee wellbeing? How can we help you overcome those? And that was really interesting. And to this day now, actually, University Hospitals Birmingham hold equity in the company as well, which is really different. But it's been one of our core sort of selling points, I suppose, when we're dealing with other NHS trusts, is there's a huge confidence when they know that there's already sort of NHS trust backing behind the company. So I guess just to sort of finish, where are we now? And it's a very different space. Admittedly, like all of us on this call, COVID hit. But for us, you know, I don't like calling it opportunity, but COVID came at a time where people were forced into new ways of working. Everybody was put in their bedrooms or in their kitchens. And actually the need for workplace wellbeing has only intensified, because now employers are saying, well, actually, there's a real fear that my employees are going to become disconnected from the team. They're going to be isolated. Their mental health is going to struggle. And actually they use Kaido as a way of sort of branching that problem in terms of getting important support out there for physical and mental health when people are moving less, communicating less, but also as a way of keeping engagement high, and really just giving their teams a welcome morale boost at an important time. And that's where we are. So we've kind of raised no more money. We're about 230 clients globally now that use the service, the largest of which is Transport for London. We work with the likes of HSBC and KPMG, but we're really also passionate about how we open up this market, because actually workplace wellbeing has always been a privilege of enterprise level clients. How do we make it as accessible to small businesses as that it is to the large ones? Because the core theme is the same. Every business has people in them, and how you look after that people sort of dictates how your business performs. So that's really interesting for us. Through COVID, we developed sort of a SaaS platform. So now you can sort of sign up, pay, all that good stuff online. And actually for the first time, again, we're probably starting to cross that dotted line on that Kaido startup curve there, which is great. We're still small, you know, there's only sort of 6 of us. Should have mentioned as well, at the start of this year, there was 3 of us that actually invested in the business. A guy called Neil, so he was also a co-founder in the company, actually passed away. It wasn't through COVID. He sadly had a short illness, but actually, you know, it's challenges like that that others have touched on as well that really go on to define you as the business. And I think, again, he's obviously remembered, and of course, we work each day to try and realize his investment, which is great. So hopefully that was useful. That's a little bit about our story. It's been an absolute roller coaster. It's been supported by tons of fantastic people across Birmingham, not just the sort of accelerators and that sort of stuff. And yeah, we'll keep going and hope to realize some value soon.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rich. I'm so sorry about your friend Neil. That's really upsetting. I think if your graph was an actual roller coaster, I'd quite enjoy it, but I don't envy you in the actual road that you've taken with that one. I just have a quick question. I guess about when you were offered that VC money and then didn't take it, and then again with my screen just disappeared for everyone.
Yeah, it's loading your mail.
Wow.
Yeah, close it quickly, close it quickly.
Go back to this. It's not doing anything. There we go.
There you go.
I guess then again with you know, not being such a perfectionist with the product when you're getting it out there, was that did you have mentorship? Was that Jeremy that helped you through that? Was there instinct there with yourself? Like, how did you face those challenges, and what kind of support did you have then?
Yeah, so a little bit was forced. You know, we were running out of time, admittedly. Many founders on this call, you know, you don't take salaries or that sort of stuff when you're building a business. So actually I was running out of runway personally. I was going to need to go and get a job at some point just to survive. And actually that forces you to do things, you know, that maybe you wouldn't do, and put things out earlier than maybe you would. I think that's what was interesting when we had money and when we were inside sort of Innovation Birmingham, these lovely offices. You sort of relax a little bit and think this is going to be support that's going to come to you forever. And actually, one of the things I always challenge when I'm speaking to founders now is, if you're in an accelerator program, always, if it's not set for you, set a time when you want to get out of that program. Because I actually think it is too easy to just remain as part of them. But always as part of the process, I've had, you know, really good people to learn off. To think of people like Beth Bishop, who was part of the NHS and provided mentorship. other founders. Innovation Birmingham is a fantastic space to learn from other founders, all of which who are going through the same problems as you. Some of them have sadly not made it through. Others are still going now. So yeah, I think it was a bit of an instinct. It was a bit of force, and it was a bit of sort of friendly advice, and also reluctance from Jez, as we've mentioned, to build stuff that we didn't need. And I think that's really easy to do when you're building a tech startup.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to head over to Victoria for questions. I'm also going to just do a little poll for our audience. If you want to just fill in, that'd be really interesting to have a look at. So Victoria, what have we got from the audience?
So we've got some of this that were asked before you said some bits and pieces. So just correct me if I'm wrong as I answer them. But someone asked, thank you. Well, first of all, they thank you for your open honesty. Curious to find out how big your current team is. I think you answered that it's 6.
Mm-hmm.
Also, is your focus on UK, or do you see yourself selling globally? Do you think that strategic vertical partnerships are the way forward, as you did with Jeremy?
Okay, so we're already selling globally. So we have partners in India, we have partners in Australia and New Zealand. Interestingly, through COVID, we've had massive growth in America. So yeah, total. The only limitation we have currently, importantly, is that we're only available in English. So a challenge for us is to make a sort of multilingual, and then obviously that sort of increases our opportunity. In terms of strategic partnerships, yes, I do think they're the way forward, but I think they've got to be right for you, obviously. Really interesting. I was on a webinar with another founder from Birmingham, company called Give Vision, and a founder called Stan. And he, like me, had a load of money, spent it on really expensive consultants and that sort of stuff. And he actually said, when I spoke to him, he said, if I had my time again, I'd sort of, I suppose, secure good people into the business through equity. And there's lots of options now, things like EMI schemes and that sort of stuff to incentivize people, because actually they're the core that's been there throughout. And I maybe wouldn't have spent so much money on external consultants and that sort of stuff. And interestingly, I'm involved in another venture at the moment where, sort of using networks that are created through building Kaidu, we're actually taking on a different startup challenge. And that's the same, no one's getting paid, but actually they're all just good at what they do. We're a team that we know works together, and it's that sort of, I suppose, venture builder type model that's very prevalent in like the States that I think we'll maybe see more of in the UK moving forward, and sort of pooling of resources to help people get to market quicker. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm also a big believer of partnerships and working together. I have another question here. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge for the business now? I am assuming this is a super competitive space. What do you feel was your competitive advantage? That's a question.
Yeah, so the challenge right now really is from a sales and marketing perspective for us. We've never really done anything in that space. Most of our big business has come through referral, which is obviously great. The product's working. But there's a challenge from our business model too that's sort of happy to share. At the moment, we get sort of large lumpy revenue, as we call it, big clients paying large sums up front. Actually, for us to become sort of sustainable and drive value from a sale perspective, which is the ultimate goal, we want to get closer to sort of monthly recurring revenue and clients paying sort of monthly based on their usage and that sort of stuff. So that's quite an exciting challenge for us. It's one I know as a team we're all really keen to attack, because it's a good challenge rather than us, some of the other ones we've had to face along the way. It is a super competitive space. As I mentioned in the talk, we do pride ourselves on what we call our holistic health focus. So we don't just look at health as a sort of one vertical, and actually we are using price as a competitive advantage as well. Health shouldn't be something that's expensive and prohibitive to people. So we're bringing it down that way as well. But of course, there'll always be new people. I actually think competition's good. And we just continue to use one of the biggest competitive advantages, I think, for a small business, which is being small. And you have an ability to be agile and to take things in different directions and to react to the market and that sort of stuff.
Okay, I think we're out of time, so we won't be taking any more questions. But if you want to message any of the speakers, make sure to get connect with them.
Yes, please do. Thank you everyone for coming. Thanks to our speakers for sharing those stories. I'm going to want to have a catch up with all of you at some point. We've got from Birmingham Tech, we have the keynote event at 11:30. So if you're not signed up for that and you've got time, go get a coffee, have a walk around, stretch your legs. I'm sure Rich is all about the exercise, seated exercise, whatever. Then yeah, I will probably hopefully see you at other events during the week, and thank you everyone so much.